participants. This is Hussein Bhaldar, working as assistant professor from the Swedish College in Pandharpur. So, I will take a privilege to introduce our today's speaker, uh, Professor Vivek Rao Ratnaparke sir. So he is working as assistant professor at the Sri Sant Gajanan Maharaj College of Engineering, Segaon. Since 2019, he is there. So uh, basically, about his qualification, he has recently submitted his PhD thesis in the domain of RF and macro communication. About his MTech qualification, he has completed his MTech from the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar University, Lonere, and about his degree, he has completed from the North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. Okay, about his achievements, so he has done 6 months research internship at the SAC ISRO Ahmedabad during the duration of 5th May to the 20th May in the 2017. And he has worked in that period on the solid state power amplifier design for the space application. Also, during his MTech graduation, he has worked on the project known as amplifier design, which was sponsored by the Society for Applied Microelectronics Engineering and Research, that is called as SAMIR, in the Chennai during his post graduation period. Okay. After that, he has received the grant from the AICT, New Delhi, and ARM, RAB, DRDO in the field of RF and the micro communication. He has also received the Best Paper Award, which was held the international conference in the 2018 from the Singapore. About his STTP workshop, he has attended the 5 different workshops from the different IITs, NITs, and also he has conducted 14 different workshops for the various institutes, and he has published near about 10 papers in the international and the national journals. So we are very lucky to hear you, sir, Ratnaparke sir. So I welcome you, sir. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay.
But sir, over to you.
Okay. May I start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can start now.
Okay. I hope my voice is clear and loud enough, and you are also able to receive the presentation which I have shared.
Yes, sir. It's visible. You can continue, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning to all the participants, organizing committee of this 5 days AICT Atal sponsored FDP. My sincere thanks to Professor Hussain and Professor Matpati for introducing me to all participants. So I have 2 sessions planned today. The first session is about communication technologies, which will be very useful in context of wearable devices. I will try to discuss these communication technologies in relation to IoT based wireless devices, wearable devices. So the first slide is talking about we have a different wearable devices which we wear maybe on our body parts or maybe on clothes, and the ultimate objective of all these wearable devices is to get communicated, get connected while we are moving. So these devices will help us in different domains, maybe health domain, maybe in our day-to-day activities, maybe in sports domain. So you might have seen different applications of wearable devices. Ultimately, all these devices will be connected to particular nodes, and they may be one-way communication, they may be sending data, or they may be bidirectional. They can send as well as receive data. So to have this kind of communication link between our wearable device and destination, we should have some sort of network. We should have some sort of protocols to be used. We should have followed some sort of communication technologies. What do I mean at this point of time by communication technologies? On this slide. So this connection can happen with the help of a simple communication technology. We used to call it as a Bluetooth. For example, if you wanted to get connected to your system, maybe a terminal which is at your home or maybe in office, and if you are moving, let us say 15-20 kilometers away from that terminal, in that case, this Bluetooth or Wi-Fi will not support you to establish a communication link. So we have to have different set of communication technology, maybe a WiMAX, WiGig, or the most popular is GSM kind of a protocol. So I hope I have just tried to tell you something about how these communication technologies or the protocols will have to play major role making the system complete with these wearable devices. Basically, the plan of my talk will have two parts. Since we are interested to send and receive information through a wireless channel, before we study any communication technology, we have to look for the different physical aspects of wave propagation. So that is the start point for my discussion. Some of important terminologies related to wave propagation I will try to cover. Then what are the important requirements and quality of service parameters for any wireless communication technology will be discussed. For second part of this session itself, in first session itself, I have made two parts. In second part, I will talk about the four important models of communication which we use in the area of wearable devices and IoTs. Then I have made a small classification of these communication technologies based on the distance, short range, medium range, and long range. So I will try to talk about the different technologies falling under these three different types and would like to compare based on different characteristic parameters. That is what the comparative analysis. So this is in short flow of my talk. If you look at the market scenario for IoT or its future scenario, maybe 5 years down the line, it is very promising that you will find there were only 6 billion IoT connections globally available in the year 2015. But in the time span of 10 years, by the time we reach 2025, global IoT market will reach to the number of 27 billion, which is a huge figure. It is expected that revenue forecast from this market will be around 3 trillion US dollars. And the connection, which was cellular IoT connections, they were around only 334 millions at the end of 2015. they would rise to 2.2 billions. And IoTs has got a lot of potential to play a role maybe in your topic of interest, which is a wearable device. Even it is your smart home cases, maybe automotive electronics and smart agriculture, precision agriculture, so on and so forth. So it is expected that by 2025, cellular IoT connections in connected cars will reach by at least 40-45%. And if we are doing all these things, very huge amount of data will be generated by Internet of Things. And mostly this data will be mostly from the consumer devices, as you can see, and that data is almost 2 zettabytes. So the market forecast for IoT during the span of 2017 to 2025, the first bar graph is about the regions, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and rest of the world. So you find that in North America, there is a huge market. Then the second huge market for this IoT is Asia Pacific, and where our country falls in this particular region. So simply you can anticipate there is a huge scope for IoT for Indian market, and we can say Asian subcontinent. So this is expected by 2015. Then technology, you can see some of the important technologies I will try to talk during my presentation. If you can see the bottom left side graph, RFID, machine-to-machine, SCADA, Zigbee, cloud management, and others are some of the technologies which have the market share with respect to the year. The yellow color line is about the market in 2017, and little orange colored line is talking about the market for these technologies around 2025. This is indeed anticipation about all these technologies, and as we are people from technical background, we know that there are a lot of new technologies coming into the market. So there may be a slight variation about the anticipation which is being proposed over here, but the general mindset of students or PG student or UG students is that they say that Zigbee, SCADA, RFID are now old age technologies. This is very old, 20-25 years old. So they don't have any existence in market. So it is not the case. However, Wi-Fi is there. Then we have new models related to new communication models related to Wi-Fi. For example, Wi-Fi Direct is there. Wi-Fi Hello is there. I will talk something about all these technologies. So still Wi-Fi do have existence. Likewise, Zigbee, however, it is an older version of a communication protocol, but there are augmentations in Zigbee also. So I will also talk about what are the augmented protocols in the domain of Zigbee. Similarly, we have the upgradation of BLE, Bluetooth upgradation, that is called as a Bluetooth low energy. So all these technologies are actually very, very required for our better life with the help of IoT, or we can say wearable devices. So some of the top companies or major role players in this field are also written here, and you can see the survey of different applications including consumer services, smart appliances, where this topic of wearable devices falls, that is also sharing a huge percentage in the applications of these IoT technologies. So before proceeding further, just one more slide related to IoT, two more slides related to IoT. We all know that IoT is actually called as the Internet of Things, which is a group of connected devices that can be accessed via the internet. So there may be simple any device or any person would like to get connected. There is no limitation for distance as such if we globally talk about IoT, but we must take care of that. The distance coverage or range coverage will again depend on the communication protocol which you will be using. There is a huge demand and scope for IoT applications in any businesses. Maybe even it is a software industry. They do require such kind of IoT applications, and even manufacturing industries, they will be huge benefited with the help of IoTs. Any network and at any time you can connect to the people, or maybe anything can get connected to any other thing. That is why the name Internet of Things. Though we all are talking about positive sides of IoT, always there are some challenges which IoT has to come up. Out of them, some I have just listed over here. The application of IoT in extreme situations, maybe very high temperature or very low temperature, maybe you can say outer space or very hot or cold area, it is not being tested. So those industries or applications where these challenges are there, then IoT is, there is the question on performance and utilization of IoT. Worldwide standardization and interoperability between different communication technologies will always remain a challenge, because there are huge number of communication protocols, n number of devices would like to get communicated. So their scalability, their expandability, and communication in between will always be a challenge. So that is what the topic we would like to address in our today's discussion. Legal instruments to be used for establishing communication or sending and receiving data, that is another challenge, and technical limitations in certain cases, that will be also one of the challenge for IoT. So there are different components. If we go ahead and talk about IoT, we can have identification protocols such as barcodes, RFID, and any other. Then we have sensors to be used. You might have talked about different sensors we use in wearable devices, for example, temperature, gyrometer, accelerometer, and so on. Then we have the connection protocols, which is actually the topic of my discussion for today's session. Bluetooth, Zigbee, you can just read out. There are a lot of protocols available. I will at least try to cover some of them. Then we have to integrate. It depends on the protocols, simple, middleware, or decision analysis of complex systems. These are the two ways of integrating the sensors via connections to the system. Then we have data processing kind of a component, and which network you will be using. So the EPC is little advanced network kind of a thing, network protocol you can say, which is called as Evolved Packet Core, which is actually coming with 3GPP. So this is what the IoT components. Okay, with this brief, now let me take you to the physical aspects of wave propagation, and herein I will try to tell you what are the major challenges when we are trying to send information from one device to another device, and if we are interested to do it in reverse way. So that means somehow we are trying to do a wireless communication. So how do we transfer information from one point to another point? There is the only one way. Many speakers might have talked about antennas, or some of them will also, some of your upcoming speakers will also throw some light on antennas. So the antenna is the component. It may be, in your case, you are focusing on wearable antennas. So how you can fold that antenna, how the performance of that antenna can be modeled, up to what percent you can fold it, how many degrees, and how the gain or other radiation characteristics of antenna can be kept in acceptable region. So all this will happen with at least some kind of antenna, and that antenna is nothing but transmitting and receiving information. So basically it converts your electrical signal into electromagnetic, and if it is a receiving antenna, it will convert EM back to the electrical signal. But when the signal is in a channel, wireless channel, it is in form of an electromagnetic wave. So you never bother about what will happen to your signal when it is in a free space. It propagates in the nature of electromagnetic wave. The mode of propagation is a transverse electromagnetic mode. But still, you have to talk about the EM wave propagation, how it is going to affect. So I will talk about this concept. there are different types of modulation schemes, ASK, PSK, FSK, and so on. So these types will also affect on the wave propagation. There are a lot of challenges while wireless propagation. For example, your signal may get scattered, reflected, absorbed, diffracted, and attenuation may be because of walls, buildings, trees, and other obstacles. In case of wearable devices, we should also see that what is the amount of signal which is being absorbed by our own body. In case of antennas, we talk about the specific absorption rate. Whether if you are using so much number of wearable devices, is it going to make any harmful action to your body? As we all know that using mobile phone continuously will certainly harm to our uh, uh, human health. I'm not going into the details of that topic, but you can always Google for it. If the specific absorption rate is pretty high, then the liquid level present in our brain will get affected, and there are serious effects because of using continuous mobile phone. So there are a lot of examples I can quote here. You will get little sweat on your hands if you use a mobile phone continuously. You will feel your mobile phone is heated up. The temperature during that region will be little higher, and certainly you will also feel that there is a small headache you will be experiencing depending on your time of talk and how you are holding your mobile. So all these factors are going to affect on human health. So when it is there, the signal coming to your mobile device, it may be your smartwatch or the mobile phone which you are using. Ultimately, they are using some sort of electromagnetic wave to transmit or rather receive the wave. So before going into much details of these wearable devices, being a technical background person, we must understand the effects related to, maybe effects related to human health, which is actually not my topic for today's discussion. But when the wave is in a free space, what are the different things which are going to affect on my electromagnetic wave? Then we have the topic called as a multipath. Since signal is traveling through a free space, it can take multiple paths, maybe single or double hop kind of a communication, and you will get the same signal with different phases from different reflected points. So how it is going to affect on your signal and whether you will get correct information or not. That concept is called as a multipath. Then we have the concept of path loss. While signal is traveling from one point to another point, so with respect to distance, signal will die, means received power in a free space. It reduces by square of the power, reduces by square of the distance, you can say. That is actually power received is equal to 1 by r square. And it falls with very high rate with respect to the distance. Even it is also reduces with respect to frequency. I will try to show you the curve of path loss with respect to frequency as well as with respect to distance. So with respect to distance also, power will reduces. If you increase the frequency of operation, then also power will reduces. So that study is called as a path loss. I will talk something about the path loss, and certainly the well-known concept is about Doppler shift. So all these things we have to keep it into the mind before going into the any wireless communication or the wearable or IoT kind of a things. So what is RF? You may be using any wearable device. You must using the frequencies maybe in the range of 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. And the frequency will determine the behavior of you. What is the wavelength? What is the requirement of antenna gain? What is the dimension of your antenna? So everything will be decided by the frequency. Even what kind of modulation will be suitable, what kind of you can say multiplexing technique you can use. So that all can be decided with the help of a frequency. So if you use high frequency, the short range and lower penetration ability is there, because I said that your distance will be dependent on frequency. The higher and higher frequency you will use, you are able to communicate for shorter and shorter ranges, because the power related to that frequency will dies with respect to 1 by f square. It falls similar to that of your distance relation. but it has lower penetration ability also if you increase the frequency. But at the same time, if your requirement is to transmit more and more data, then you don't have a choice other than increasing the frequency. Different technologies will use different frequencies, that is quite apparent, and mostly unlicensed ISM radio bands, somewhere around 2.4 gigahertz are used. Many different devices operate in same band, and that will cause interference and will result into decrease in the performance of the system. All right. So we have to now go in the little deep of this topic and try to understand about the network planning. So we have to first configure the network. Maybe you have different sites, you have different gateways and their positions. So you have to do the survey whether I can establish node at this particular point or not. So that is called as the network configuration. Then you have to do something in the software, because let us take a case of your microstrip patch antenna or maybe any simple antenna. You cannot directly go and fabricate your antenna, maybe for your wearable applications. You must have to do certain types of simulations, do some sort of analysis inside any EDA tool, and then you can come up with the proper design which you can get fabricated in market and characterize it. So similarly, for any network planning, you have to have a simulation kind of thing. There are a whole lot of bunch of softwares, EDA tools available for this topic, but unfortunately this is not the case for at least our region. We never bothered about the link budget. So I will try to give you very simple example related to the link budget when we come to the topic. Then we have to simulate the traffic. As you know, in case of our GPS, if you want to move from one point to another point, we usually, if that point is unknown to us, we usually use the GPS map, Google service, and we try to avoid the routes of heavy traffic. So that is what we have to do in this case also. If we have number of nodes, we have to simulate it properly and do a proper evaluation kind of thing, and then we have to optimize our network. That is the final step. All right, so this picture talks about everything which I was trying to tell you about the RF propagation, or you can say any wireless propagation. Let us say if we have some transmitter at this point of having certain frequency and having certain power level, which is being transmitted from this point, and the desired destination is this one. So the first and ideal case is that your signal will directly travel from transmitter to receiver. So that's very good ideal scenario, but it happens that you have many obstacles in between of the transmitter and receiver. So you have the first kind of a ideal case, then you have one reflected case, then you have one more reflection from here and here. So you have, in total, you are getting same signal, but it is coming from different directions. So that is nothing but the concept of multipath. And now if the same signal is being transmitted from one transmitter and getting reflected from different obstacles and reaching to the same receiver, what will happen to the receiver? Receiver will get the different signals. Indeed, the transmitter had sent a single signal, receiver will get the different signals at different times, because even though the frequency is same, all right, so the speed of that signal will be same, but it is traveling different distances. So it will arrive at different time instances with different amplitudes. So this is the major challenge which we used to call it as a multipath. And the amplitude which is coming from different directions is again different. So that is amplitude fluctuations or fading phenomena, which we have to understand. The another link which is now being shown, it is one transmitter and you have another receiver. So the point of interest here is not only the obstacles which are going to create the multipath effect, but also the climate is going to play important role. If it is the terrain condition, if it is the earth curvature, if the climate, there is a rain happening, or if there is a smoke and fog is there, so all these factors are going to affect on the wireless communication, depending on the frequency which you have been using for establishing the link. So this is very, very important. Now I will just try to introduce you to the concept of link budget. Let us say you are able to send some signal from the sender to receiver, but you have two different obstacles. Maybe one wall is there or building is there, and another there is a tree. So you must have to understand what is the minimum signal level which can be picked up by that receiver. At the start of our session, Matapati sir had tried to cross-check the things, and he asked me, sir, whether are you able to receive my signal? I was trying to connect my mic properly. At that time, he was not in a position to get signal from my side. Okay, so I have just connected mic, and when I have started saying, then he feels that yeah, link is established. But if my voice is too low, or even if there is some kind of a loss in between connection of my mic and desktop, so your receiver may not be able to pick up the signal. Though I am speaking from my side, when transmitter is sending signal from its side, the receiver is not getting the signal. So what is the minimum amount of signal which can be detected by this receiver has to be first understood, and that signal level minimum, that signal level should reach. However, there are a lot of obstacles and uh, different things available in the atmosphere. That signal has to overcome all the things and reach to the receiver. So that analysis is actually called as a link budget. Okay, the same picture once again, you have multiple buildings in between of sender and receiver. So you have to have a proper understanding about the link budget. Now, what else you can use? You may not be knowing that your smart watches or your wearable devices do have different antennas as well as some amplifiers. So always it is not the case. You will say that I will increase the gain of amplifier. That is not very easy task to increase the gain of amplifier. I will talk something about amplifiers in my session 2. So in that case, we will talk more about the amplifiers. Then you will say, I will try to increase the antenna gain. But that is not easily possible because gain of antenna is proportional to 4 pi A upon lambda square. This is the classical equation. Many of you may be knowing this equation. For example, if you are saying that I will increase the gain of my antenna in between this link, you are not going to change the wavelength. You are not going to change frequency. So what is the only solution? You have to increase the antenna dimension. That is not a smart solution in case of wearable devices or in case of any wireless communication. If you increase the antenna gain, it may happen that the size of your antenna may be bigger than that of your wearable device. So the major challenge for wearable kind of communications is to keep the antenna dimension as smaller as possible, no matter how good performance characteristics of your wearable antenna are. If its size is bigger, it is not miniaturized, it cannot be mounted on the body, then it is of no use. If you are using it inside the devices, if you are talking about implantable antennas, that is another issue. If you are talking about using wearable antennas on your clothes, then you have enough amount of space to mount it. But if it comes to the device, then it has to be very, very miniaturized. So these are the two things which are actually very challengeable for wearable applications. Now, to do in a mathematical way to understand the path loss concept, the power received is actually EIRP. EIRP is effective isotropic radiated power, which is PT into GT. Let us say you have a transmitter transmitting some power. With this case, I will tell you. If you have this transmitter, it is transmitting some power PT with one antenna whose gain is GT. So that is called as EIRP. This PT-GT is nothing but EIRP. So power received is PT-GT, or you can say EIRP plus gain of receiving antenna. All these things are in dB. Plus gain of receiving antenna minus path loss. Path loss is actually the quantity which is dependent on distance. R is the separation between transmitter and receiver, and it is again dependent on the frequency over which you are using or doing the communication. So this is a path loss. So EIRP I said here, how you can calculate in dB. Then gain of receiving antenna, just now I wrote this equation. You can get it in decibels. And finally, your EIRP will be power received will be EIRP plus gain of receiving antenna minus path loss. This is actually a very generalized way of expressing the power received. More than this, you have this path loss. Then more than this, you have losses associated with the atmosphere, LA. Again, you have some losses related with the transmitting antenna mismatch, and you have losses associated with the receiving antenna mismatch. So all these things we have to keep it in mind before establishing a proper link. Okay, so I will just quickly cover these things. We have talked about the transmitter gain, transmitter power, receiving antenna gain. The important thing is that the difference between minimum received signal level and the actual received power, that is called as a link margin. So this is very, very important. If you go and do the link analysis, so this link margin should be at least 10 dB minimum difference between the minimum received signal level and the actual signal which is being received at the receiver. I will make it very apparent to all of my participants, and the difference between these is called as a link margin, and that has to be minimum for effective link budget. That difference has to be minimum 10 dB. If it is more, that is always good. So let us try to understand this concept with the example. So power in a wireless system, you have one transmitter to the left, you have another receiver to the right, and in between you have a free space. So how do you transmit a signal? So even in any smallest variable device, or if you take the case of even radar, the flow is similar. You may not be using a coaxial cables and all in your variable devices, but you will be using some sort of a transmission line. It may be simple, a copper track which is taking signal from your transmitter to the antenna inside the device. So to exaggerate the things, I have just said that you have some sort of cable over here connecting your transmitter to the antenna, and it is being transmitted. Now this electrical signal is converted into EM, and it is entered free space. So there you have to consider the path loss. And at the receiver, you have receiving antenna, which will again convert the EM signal into electric, and via cable it is connected to the radio receiver. With respect to distance, you can just imagine how the transmitter power on y-axis we have the power strength dBm. So transmitter power at the transmitter, it was, let us say, some finite number of power, finite power was there, maybe 15 dBm, 20 dBm, and so on. When it traveled down the cable, there is some sort of attenuation, so power will reduces because of the antenna. Then you can imagine that you have just improved the power, just to exaggerate the concept of, since it is the gain. Then when it is coming to the free space, the power signal will reduce in amplitude. This depends on the separation, how long your transmitter and receiver, the power of that receiver will dies off. As I said, power received is proportional to 1 over R square, where R is the separation between transmitter and receiver. There is the clear-cut understanding how far you are keeping your transmitter and receiver, there is the loss is going to increase. Then when signal comes to a receiver, the receiving antenna will pick up it by a certain amount. Again, you have connected a cable and it will go to the radio receiver. Now this is the received power actual, and for this receiver you have said that the sensitivity of my receiver is something, let us say minus 110 dBm. If this is the sensitivity, any signal less than minus 100, and or you can say it is always good to have the signal of at least minus 100 dBm. So you can see there is the difference between this. Since it is in minus, so I'll be writing this likewise. So the difference should be at least 10 dBm. Then only it can pick. If it is minus 105, then the difference very small. It is only 5 dB. So that is not acceptable. At least the margin, which is called as a link margin, receiver sensitivity and actual received power, should be at least 10 dB. Okay. So let's examine this with one example and then we will proceed. You have to establish a 5 kilometer link with one access point. Okay. You have to establish one wireless link and you have to carry out the link budget. For this, you have access point, antenna whose gain is 10 dB, transmitting power of 20 dBm, and receive sensitivity is minus 89 dBm for the access point. And you have a client again using antenna of 14 dBi gain And when it is transmitting signal, it is transmitting the power of 15 dBm, and receive sensitivity is minus 82 dBm. So the cables in both the cases are pretty short, with very small loss of a 2 dB at each side and operating at 2.4 gig of frequency. So let us do and understand this. We have one access point and this is client. When we are sending signal in the direction from access point to client, let us do the analysis of link budget. So the transmitter is able to transmit 20 dBm signal, the cable is offering 2 dB loss, and antenna is having plus 10 dBi of a gain. Path loss, if you calculate at 5 km for 2.4 gigahertz, it will become minus 114. Okay. Then the receiving antenna is a 14 dBi, and the cable loss is of again 2 dB. Both the side we have 2 dB. So we have to estimate the margin for this, and receiver sensitivity is minus 82 dBm for this, for client. And receiver sensitivity for this means if you want to do the reverse communication, that time this sensitivity is minus 89 dB. For this it is minus 89, for this it is a minus 82. Any signal below minus 82 or even any signal difference of less than 10 dB with respect to this cannot be detected by this receiver. I mean, any signal below minus 90 or 92 dB will not be picked up by that receiver. So that is the case we have to understand. So let us do the analysis. So transmitter had transmitted the power of 20 dBm, antenna has increased it by 10 dB, so 20 plus 10, 30, but this minus 2 has to be considered. So 20 plus 10 minus 2. Then antenna gain at client is 14 dBi. You can see this 14 dBi will be plus. And but again cable loss at client is minus 2, so that has to be subtracted. So the total gain, if you solve this simple calculation, you will come to 40 dB. And now you have a free space loss at this frequency for 5 kilometers is minus 114. So you do this, you will get minus 74. So this is minus 74 dB. All right. And the expected received signal level is minus 82 dBm. What is the difference between them? 8 dB. All right. So 8 dB is the link margin. Now, in other way, if you would like to do client to access point, now you have said that you have done the reverse. This is your access point now, which has got the gain of 10 dBi, and this is now transmitter, your client transmitting with 15 dBm of power, getting it to the antenna with 2 dB loss. So path loss is again same. If you do the, and this time receiver sensitivity is minus 89, so the lower signal can be easily picked up. All right. So the 15 dBm is the transmitted from here. 14 is the antenna gain, minus 2 dB cable loss. Again, antenna gain at access point is 10 dBi, minus 2 dB cable loss. So total you have 35 dB, and free space loss is again 114 minus 114. So you have minus 79. So expected received signal is minus 79, but sensitivity is minus 89 even. If you have 10 dB below also, that can be picked up. So this is the link margin. All right. So now you can see how you can do the link margin and how it affects with respect to frequency as well as distance. If you keep increasing the distance, path loss in dB will also increases. All right. And the solid curve is for 2.4 gigahertz. And if you increase the frequency, even with respect to increasing distance, path loss will be more with respect to distance frequency. So two equations you have to keep it in mind. So your path loss, power received, first is 1 by r square, and second is r is the distance, and second is PR is equal to even 1 by f square. So not only it degrades with the increase in distance, but also it degrades with increase in frequency. So that is quite apparent from this graph. Now let us come to the different technologies which we use for wearable devices. We may use LTE, long-term evaluation, LoRaWAN. I will talk about some of these technologies. Then narrowband category 1, category M, and LTE. So we have the different characteristic parameters in European countries for this thing. We use the frequency 867 to 869 megahertz, and for this we have the transmit power up and down is specified plus 14 and plus 14 dBm in both the cases. For North America, we have the different channels for LTE, and the link budget is given. Now you can see the link budget in upwards, uplink link budget is 155 dB and even downlink is 155. But in case of North America, they set the standard for link budget 154 and 157. The example which I have taken is this thing, minus 89 and minus 82. The same table I have taken it to explore the concept in much details. Now let us take the technology, two technologies at least, LTE and LoRaWAN. So for LTE, link budget is minus 130 dB. Indeed, it is minus 130. The fashion is to write only 130, since because we know that that is the minimum signal which can be picked up. So this is the link budget for LTE, and for LoRaWAN it is 154. So I will use the calculator which is present on available on the net. You can just go to this calculator and you will find the very important concept. Okay, when you land to this, just keep the distance to be 100 kilometers. Why 100? Because we all know that LTE can communicate theoretically maximum up to 100 kilometers. Don't change anything. Rest of the things should be zero. You are not talking about the gain or anything. And let us make it 900 megahertz and try to compute. So this is for LTE. I kept the theoretical distance 100 kilometers and 900 megahertz. Rest of the things are zero, ideal assumption. So received power is minus 131. And what is the link budget? We said 130 dB, minus 130 dB. So minus 131 cannot be picked up by the LTE. If you have the separation, you have the separation of 100 kilometers. It is well below minus 130. So this link cannot be established. So what you have to do, you have to minimize the distance. If you minimize the distance by 20 kilometers and click on compute, now it is below 130. So the link can be established ideally. But this will also not work, because you know that minimum link margin should be at least 10 dB. Now try and investigate for LoRaWAN, which is 154 dB in our case. It is written 154. So we will try to analyze this. Let us keep the distance for LoRaWAN, which is a long range wireless access network, or you can say wide area network. So this can communicate up to 1000 kilometers. Ideally, they used to call it as. And if you compute it, so it is minus 151. Again, the theoretical range is 154, and this is minus 151. So this cannot be possible to pick up. Actually, means very close to that. You can just increase the distance little bit in case of ideal. However, this is 3 dB of margin. But if you want to make it ideal, as we did in case of LTE, so make it 1300. So now it is 153.8, which is quite closer to 154 dB. So this can work. Means theoretically, if you take the ideal case, your LoRaWAN can communicate up to 1300 kilometers. But now go ahead and try to insert some sort of a cable loss, which is the practical case. If I use the 8 dB of a cable, maybe a 10 meters of a cable offering a 8 dB of attenuation. So what will happen? So this strength is reduced to minus 161. You can pick up to 154 only. So the only solution is that you have to reduce the distance. And if you reduce it from 1300 to, let us say, 500 and compute it again, now it is minus 153.5. So what this case study has shown to us, even though LoRaWAN could communicate up to 1300 kilometers in ideal scenario, if you use the practical cables to connect those LoRaWAN transmitters and receivers, the 8 dB cable, maybe of just 10 meters in a length, is equivalent to how much kilometers in air? Is equivalent to 800 kilometers in air. So that is very, very important topic which we have to understand about link budget. Simply if you are using a cable of even 1 dB or 2 dB attenuation in your communication link, it would be very longer cable in air. So in our case, 8 dB cable is actually 800 kilometers in length in air, introducing the loss likewise. Okay, so that was the thing I was planning to discuss related to physical aspects in first half of my session. Now remaining time, I will talk about the communication terminologies. All right. So there are different terms has to be considered for communication technologies. First is what are the different wireless technologies, what are the different wireless networks, what are the different wireless topologies, and what are the standards. So all these we will try to see one by one. So wireless technology are nothing but cell phones that uses radio waves to transmit and receive data. So some of them are shown here: Zigbee, Wi-Fi, Z-Wave, Thread, Bluetooth. All these are nothing but NFC, GSM, and Ocean. All these are nothing but wireless technologies. I am presuming that everything is going smoothly. There is a synchronization between my slides and the words which I have been saying here. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I will proceed now. So ARPANET is the first computer to be designed by US Department of Defense in the late 1960s. And with the brief, these are the different wireless networks. This is actually known to all of us. Just to give justice to our subject, I have just listed some of the important wireless networks over here. So you can see personal area network, which is the topic of interest for wearable devices, called as WPAN, in which we use Bluetooth, home RF, IRDA, and the standard wireless standard, which is 802.15, is used. It has got very low power and shorter range. So that is what the personal area network. Then we have a local area and wide area network. So they have got different standards, wireless standards, and different technologies and different power levels they do use. Another picture with different applications you can see, and even one more terminology is being used here, that is called as the data rate. So maximum data rate will be there if you use higher and higher frequencies. It is always not true, but the technology will always support you to use the higher data rate. So multipath absorption will be also going to increase if you increase the range of your network. So there are some popular topologies called as star, mesh, ring, common bus, or fully connected network. So this is the basic picture about different wireless topologies. Since any wireless communication technology will use either of the topology, so it is customary to talk about two important topologies, mesh and star. So this mesh network topology is generally used in home automation, smart HVAC control, and smart buildings. It has got very low transmit power and shorter links, lesser than 100 feet. Mesh topology will work better, which allows fairly long battery life, because in case of mesh, if you see, it can directly connect to the node. So that's why every node can connect directly to another node. So there is no requirement of hub in between of this kind of a topology. So it has fairly longer battery life. Range between two mesh nodes is however quite limited. So and if one node goes down, then entire piece of network can fail. So some of the wireless topologies using mesh kind of architecture are Zigbee, Z-Wave, and Thread. Then we have another topology called as a star. So star topology is actually used for Wi-Fi and your cellular networks. Also your LPWAN uses the star kind of a wireless topology. It is complex kind of a topology, and it is driven centrally, so central hub is required. So the more energy has to be expanded relying in a message. Then star topology do also have, unlike the mesh, it has awake kind of option. So it will conserve the total amount of energy expanded by each node. So with this star and mesh, then one more important is point to point. So it is much simpler than mesh and star, and but not very useful for connecting multiple devices. Okay. So what are the standards? So we have different wireless standard series: 802, 802.11, 15, 16, 18, 19, and newly 2.22 is there. So there are a lot of applications. Wi-Fi is falling under this 802.11, WiMAX is under 802.16, and another remote location services related falling under the category of WRAN, which is a remote area network. Quickly, I'm moving forward because the topic of more interest is now the communication technologies. So what are the expectations from any communication technology? That technology should be low cost, otherwise the device will have more cost than communication technology will have more cost than your actual device. That should not happen. It should operate with a very low power. Inbuilt power supply should be sufficient to operate that protocol. Then it should have a longer battery duration, and this feature is coming up in upcoming network topologies, maybe Bluetooth low energy or Wi-Fi hello. So they have means kind of a option. It will go in a sleep mode if it is not being used, so that will extend the battery life. Different bitrate requirements should be sufficed by this communication network. It should support maximum number of connections. Range should be as maximum as possible. Processing capacity should be low, and low storage capacity. Then small size devices should be there, and simple network architecture and protocols, so interchangeability and intercommunication between different protocols and technologies can be possible. Just a minute. So excuse me for the national anthem. We have all the institutes do have this practice, and we have our own prayer at the start of college timings. Okay. So I'll resume with IoT application requirements. It should satisfy the variable bandwidth requirements, and it should be latency, delay has to be fulfilled by the IoT applications. So what do I mean throughput, bandwidth, and latency? The simple picture will let you know about bandwidth of any, you can say, the technology. So this is the maximum data rate. Ideally, it is means ideal data rate, we can say, which is never possible. Throughput is the actual amount of information being sent from one point to another point. And latency or delay is actually the time required for transmission of data from point A to point B. So these are the quality of service parameters, and the intention of any person or any technologist which is working related to these communication technologies, or maybe trying to have their own device. So they have to look at to improve the throughput and minimize the latency. So how do we can improve the throughput? That should be our concern. And how do we minimize the latency? So latency can be minimized by one way. You can increase the speed of encoding and decoding kind of a thing that your transmitter and receiver, that will somehow help to improve the latency. So these are basically the quality of service parameters. So I have just talked about latency, and latency or delay, you can say it is actually the time elapsed since packet generation at one node to its reception at other node. It depends on actually, just I said, transmitting speed at source node, signal propagation speed at which frequency you are using. Anyways, all electromagnetic frequencies do have the same speed, which is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. But how multipath or different effects are going to add to that signal during propagation, that has to be considered. Then processing speed at the destination node, what is size of packet, and distance between transmitter receiver will also important to determine the latency. So throughput is already I have talked about the actual rate of signal flow between transmitter and receiver is throughput. Then reliability is very important. QoS, which talks about the number of successful packets being delivered from source to the destination. The lifetime is the time for from deployment to its breakage or depletion of the power source. And security, level of resistance to threats, protection from intrusions and interference, whether accidental or malicious, that can be compromised your privacy and safety. So all these quality of service parameters has to be considered. Then another topic is communication models. So there are 4 models for IoT. You can similarly take this for wearable devices based on IoT. So first is D2D, which is device to device. Direct devices will communicate each other. Then you have the device to cloud. Then third one is D2G, device to gateway. And fourth one is backend data sharing. So just I will try to tell you what are the examples of device to device communication. So 2 or more devices will be directly connected and communicate between each other. Most commonly protocols are Bluetooth, Z-Wave, and Zigbee. So this model is commonly used in home automation systems to transfer small data packets. So mostly wearable devices will fall under this category called as device to device communication mode. So this is the picture which tells you about the device to device communication model. You have wireless network, maybe just I said Bluetooth, Z-Wave, Zigbee, and you have a source and destination, so which are being connected through this device to device mode. Then we have a device to cloud. So I hope I should skip this topic because we are running short of the time. So I have to finish all the points within given time. So device to cloud is actually connecting your device to any IP network to the cloud. So I will show the picture. You have a temperature sensor, and which is being connected to the cloud using different protocols, or you may have some another sensor which is also being connected to the cloud with another different set of protocols. So this is device to cloud. Then device to gateway is actually one more model which you used in wearable devices. So these devices do not have the native ability to connect directly to the cloud service. So they do this task with the help of our smartphone app. So this is one of the major model which is useful for wearable devices, and the example is also written, which is a personal fitness tracker. So this is what the example of device to gateway. So local gateway may be Bluetooth or Wi-Fi present in our mobile phone. So that will be connected to any sensor, and then that mobile phone will connect to the cloud. So that is how the communication model, device to gateway. And the last one, backend data sharing, which is actually we are not using it directly. So this is the connection. You have a sensor, a service provider will connect to another service provider. So that is called as the backend data sharing. Yes. Now this is the topic where I would devote remaining amount of time. So these are the different communication technologies. I have classified them between long range, medium range, and short range. So we'll start with short range. Let us say Bluetooth. The upgraded version of Bluetooth is a BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy. We have a radio frequency identification and IR sensors. These all are short range communication technologies. Then we have Zigbee, Thread, Z-Wave Wi-Fi, and the new model of Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi Hello, which is 802.11 AH wireless standard, is also a medium range kind of a communication technology. Long range, we use GSM, CDMA, or we use long range wide area network. You can say low power wide area network, or LoRa, which is a long range wide area network. Then Sigfox, IGNU. Then massive IoT technology is also falling under the category of long range, and these are the very popular technologies. NB-IoT, ECGSM, and LTE, still we are using it. Then we can also thought of a satellite to be used for communication between two different devices. So that is very long range communication, because if you say that everything or every device in the world will be connected to every other device, so how do you do that? If you wanted to get connected to any device which is there in some another subcontinent, so there your Zigbee, Bluetooth are not going to support you. So the only option is should through a satellite or maybe some common internet protocol you can use in that case. But satellite is actually the future for these communication technologies, you can say. So one picture will let you know about the different communication technologies. On x-axis we have range, and on y-axis we have data rate and power consumption. So the first technology, which is a personal area network, most of the wearable devices do fall in this category. So Bluetooth and Bluetooth Low Energy are actually made for short range, and their data rate and power consumption is also less. That is why they are so popular for personal area network. Then we have wireless local area network technologies, for example, Wi-Fi. So they have shorter range up to few meters, but their data rate and power consumption is pretty high. Then we have low power wide area network, for example, LoRaWAN or Sigfox, which are very popular. So they do support very long range. At the same time, their power consumption is low, but even their data rate is also low. In case of wearable applications, healthcare applications, or maybe in medical cases, you may not be required to transmit huge amount of data. That is why this LoRaWAN is so popular in the domain of IoT and wearable devices. So they can communicate up to longer distances with very minimum power consumption. So the battery life will be very high, but you have a low data rate capacity, and anyways you don't have high data rate requirements. So since this is very popular, then if you have a high data rate and high longer range requirement, then you have to go for LTE, wireless interoperability of microwave access, or UMTS or HDPA. So all these technologies do have longer range capacity. They can transmit huge amount of data, but certainly the battery life will be minimum because power consumption will be more. So one more picture here, you can see the different some two more technologies, likewise RFID or NFC, and their data rate in bits per second and the distance. So you can see these LPWAN is a dotted rectangle which is talking about LPWAN. So all these technologies, and you can see NB-IoT is nowadays a very hotcake in the wearable devices or maybe IoT technologies, is playing major role because it has got very high range, maybe up to few tens of kilometers, and it can transmit a huge amount of data. So that is very, very popular. Then we have BLE, Zigbee, Z-Wave. Moderately, they can transmit the data up to certain range, less than 100 meters. Then we have a new standard. Actually, this Wi-Fi Hello, if you see, this is nowadays, it is actually not available, but this will be available a few years down the line. So it has got very high data rate and range is quite good than that of a Wi-Fi. Okay, so a smaller, little lower data rate capacity, but that is enough for the IoT and wearable applications. Then we have 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. 5G is still not available in India, at least you can say, but a few years down the line, this technology will also available. So satellite is the best solution in context of your distance and bandwidth, but at the same time, you have to look that it is very, very costly. So this is what in nutshell about the different communication technologies for IoT and wearable applications. So the first category, short range technologies. So three important I will just talk about is the Bluetooth or low energy Bluetooth, then near field and radio frequency identification. So these are the three important short range technologies, very popular among short range communication. So Bluetooth is what? It has three classes. First class is covering the range of 100 meters. The power, maximum power will be 20 dBm. If you convert it into the numerics, it will be 100 milliwatt. The second class is 10 meters, 4 dBm power, and third class of Bluetooth is 0 dBm, 1 meter range. So Bluetooth 5 is also coming into the market. So it is a 4 times the range of earlier Bluetooth, 2 times the speed, and 8 times broadcasting message capacity. It has also got very low latency, fast transactions, and data rate can be supported up to 1 Mbps. All these Bluetooth models and Bluetooth classes do operate on the ISM band 2.4 gigahertz, and they are actually good alternatives for wireless network, wire networks in the personal area network. Then we have NFC, which is the incepted in the year 2007. Distance very less, usually 10 centimeter or less than that. Frequency, it uses 13.56 megahertz. Data rate is quite low, 100 kbps. Examples, your smart wallets, smart cards, action tags, and access control, they all use NFC kind of a communication technology. So quickly compare the short range technologies only. So Bluetooth, BLE, NFC, and RFID. I'm not going in much details of RFID because that is known to all of you. So I have just not prepared, deleted indeed the slide for RFID. Then we have different features. What kind of modulation the technology is being using. Adaptive frequency hopping spread spectrum is the quite useful in Bluetooth. Then amplitude shift keying in NFC and RFID. So what is the wireless standard? What is the band of frequencies? 2.4 in both Bluetooth and augmented Bluetooth. For NFC, we'll be using 13.56. RFID, we have different bands. So data rate, you can see the data rate in case of Bluetooth is quite higher than that of NFC and RFID. The bandwidth, we have 1 megahertz each channel, and likewise we have 79 channels for Bluetooth and 40 channels each of 2 megahertz in case of BLE. NFC, we have 14 kilohertz of a bandwidth. In case of it is variable because of we have different set of frequencies or different bands of frequencies. So if you compare the range, Bluetooth and BLE can go up to 10 meters. NFC is quite low, up to few tens of centimeters, 10 or 20 centimeters, you can say. And RFID is again very short range kind of a communication, supporting communication technology up to 2 to 3 meters. Topology is a star kind of topology will be used, and NFC and RFID as in point-to-point communication technologies. So encryption, generally they use 128-bit encryption, and it depends in case of NFC and RFID, hardware and protocol level encryption is provided. Now, the medium range technologies. So some of the medium range technologies are Zigbee, Thread, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, and Li-Fi. So what is Zigbee? Zigbee is actually conceived in the year 1998, standardized in year 23, 2003 and revised in the year 2006. It is also operating on 2.4 gigahertz, but at much higher power than that of a Bluetooth, and allowing devices to communicate over much larger distances than that of a Bluetooth. So in the decade of first decade of this century, it was a very popular kind of protocol, and still this is very useful protocol even in industrial and home automation. So I will let you know why this is important, because it is being augmented as Bluetooth is being augmented with BLE. Zigbee is being augmented with its two versions called as Zigbee Pro and Zigbee IP. So I will let you know about that also. So the power usage is pretty higher than that of a Bluetooth, but less than Wi-Fi. So as I said, there are three stack profiles or three augmentations in this Zigbee variations, you can say: Zigbee, Zigbee Pro, and Zigbee IP. So Zigbee is actually support few hundreds of devices, but when it comes to the Zigbee Pro, it is actually optimized for larger networks. Ultimately, it is more expensive and requires more memory, but it can support up to thousands of devices. Okay, so this is augmented version of Zigbee. Whenever you have a requirement of connecting more than a few hundreds of devices where your Zigbee cannot directly support, so Zigbee Pro can be used. And Zigbee IP, which provides internet protocol connectivity for Zigbee devices, which recently is being launched, so that is also possible to use the internet protocol connectivity. Then we have a third kind of a communication technology announced in July 2014. It is IPv6 based networking protocol, and generally it is made for home automation kind of applications. It is not an IoT application protocol like Bluetooth or Zigbee. So its standard is 802.15.4, 6 low pan. Frequency again ISM band, mesh networking, range is 100 meters, and data rate is 9959. Frequency is being used 900 megahertz, which is quite a high frequency. Range will be 30 meters, and it has got different data rates: 9.6, 40, or 100 kbps. So controlling your lamps, sensors sensors are some of the examples among many other examples which use the Z-Wave kind of a technology. Then in medium range, we have third major communication technology, which is called as a Wi-Fi. It is a very popular alternative to the wired technologies. It is wireless standard is 802.11, and it has got the different variations A, B, G, N, and the Wi-Fi Hello is at the bottom. You can see 11AH. So the frequency bands related to each Wi-Fi standard and the throughput. You can see Wi-Fi N is having the highest throughput, and it can communicate up to longer range, 250 meters. So Wi-Fi had some kind of a disadvantage. It has high power consumption. So to compete with Zigbee, BLE, and Z-Wave, at some low power Wi-Fi modules are embedded, and systems made more energy efficient. So that is called as a Wi-Fi Hello. There is one more invention in the category of Wi-Fi that is called as a Wi-Fi Direct. See, this is Wi-Fi Hello, which can operate at very low frequency, very low power, and it can compete to Zigbee and BLE. So point-to-point protocol is being used. Standard is this, which can be used using the protocol like which operate at very low frequency, very low power consumption, and it is very popular nowadays in smart home kind of applications. So it has become more flexible, and it has very high data rates and wide coverage in comparison to the Bluetooth and Zigbee, and at the same time power consumption is pretty low. So as I was talking about Wi-Fi Direct, so in case of Wi-Fi, we have to connect to the access point, but Wi-Fi Direct is the new technology where Wi-Fi devices can directly connect without requiring a wireless access point. So that is what actually I have not covered over this slide. So Wi-Fi Direct is also one of the important communication technology. So let us compare the medium range technologies as we did for short range. So Zigbee, Thread, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, and Li-Fi I have taken. Okay. So modulation, what they use. The most important topics we'll just try to note it down. Standard 802.15, but Wi-Fi using 802.11 and Li-Fi again 802.50. So the frequency bands, let us keep this, go to the data rate. The maximum data rate is here in the Li-Fi, but still it is not in use. Wi-Fi is having highest data rate, 11 Mbps, in comparison to all these medium range technologies. So the bandwidth is again quite good in case of Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi Hello will become very, very popular to compute the Zigbee Z-Wave kind of things. Range in case of this Wi-Fi is up to 30 meters. Even Thread and Z-Wave can go up to that range, but their data rate is quite low. Topology and encryption. Okay, so low power wide area network technologies. There is the concept called as a 4C. So we have to look at the coverage, we have to look at the cost, consumption of energy, or you can say battery life and latency, and capacity. What is the number of devices it can be connected, and the data rate and speed. So on these all 4Cs, you have to compare the low power wide area networks. So there are important low power wide area networks: Sigfox, LoRa, RPMA, Telensa, and QSEO. So I will quickly tell you about all these things. LoRa is actually low power wide area network, very, very popular wide area network in case of wearable and IoT devices. Modulation is CSS, and typical bandwidth is 125 kilohertz. It is very, very sensitive, minus 137 dBm is the sensitivity, and it has got very long range, up to 15 kilometers. It has got strong indoor penetration. So in case of malls, whenever we have to use these features in bigger malls in metro cities, this long range area network is quite popular. Then frequency is 860 megahertz to 915 megahertz. Range is 2 to 5 kilometers in dense urban and 15 kilometers in suburban areas. Sigfox, it has got very low throughput. BPSK based transmission actually work on low power, and range is extended up to 50 kilometers. Then we have a narrowband IoT. Still it is not available in India. Huawei and Reliance is working strong. They have started the testing in India for narrowband IoT, which is the product of 3GPP kind of a project. It is being released in June 2016, and it can coexist with the GSM, LTE, and other licensed frequency bands. So it has got the range up to 10 kilometers and bandwidth of 200 kilohertz. So quickly I will compare for all these long range technologies: LoRaWAN, Sigfox, IGNOU, and NB-IoT. So you can see, if I look at the bandwidth, so bandwidth is mostly higher in case of IGNOU and NB-IoT. So they have quite good bandwidths, and the range they can cover is, Sigfox is very popular, up to 40 kilometers it can cover. All right, but even NB-IoT should be a good choice to this, and LoRaWAN is always had very good market. It can communicate up to 20 kilometers. Okay, so the very long, if you talk about the standards are GSM, GPRS, etc. They use, we all know about 900, 1800 megahertz band. 35 kilometer cell site may be there for GSM, and 200 kilometer for high speed personal area. You can say data rates are shown on the slide. You just see this. I will again compare all these things if possible. And examples are your cell phones, machine to machine, smart meters, and asset tracking. So let us compare Sigfox, LoRaWAN, and NB-IoT based on the different parameters. Let us say range. If you compare, so range wise, Sigfox is a very long range supporting kind of a technology. But if you see, it's you can say quality of service parameter, it is worst. Its latency is again worst out of these three. But if you see NB-IoT, let us say NB-IoT is latency very good, quality of service very good, but the cost efficiency and range is not good in case of NB-IoT. But if you talk about LoRaWAN, it will satisfy your requirements up to certain extent. Its range is quite good, its quality of service parameters are still in acceptable range, latency is also quite good, and it has got very good deployment and very, very cost effective. Also its battery life is very, very longer. So that is why LoRaWAN has become so popular. So again, you can compare the comparison technologies with this graph. You can see the number of base stations supported. So 3G, 4G, or 5G can support maximum number of base stations, but their transmission latency is very poor. Coverage and penetration is again poor. Range is lower than LPWAN. But range wise, if you see, LP1 is the best one, but number of base stations and cost and wide area network. And bandwidth wise, then you all know that the 3G, 4G do have highest bandwidth. All right. So I think I am in time. Just before 2 minutes, I have winded up my session. Now I over to the organizers if they want to say anything.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful session. Now, like if participants are having any questions, please ask the questions. If something is there in your mind to ask a question. Any question from the participants? You can write it in chat box also if you have any question. In chat box, no question is there. Anyone has a question? Okay. Vivek sir.
Yes, sir.
We will have a break of 15 minutes here.
Okay.
Then again, we will come back to the next session. We will rejoin at 11:45 sharp.
Right. Right.
Thank you, sir. You have covered a very nice topic. Like you have started with the requirement of communication, and you have ended up with the technologies of like recent technologies of communication. Nice presentation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are ending up with the session 1 year, and again we will resume sharp at 11:45 for the session 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
and 20% good students and 50% average student and some 30% below par student. And these 30% below par or average student feel that this is not my cup of tea. Every individual is capable of doing a creativity, and we should encourage them. We should ask, we should encourage them, we should tempt them to discover they are creative. Once they find that they are creative, then nothing like that will be there. So these are the world, some of the best examples. Lot of such examples are also there. We remember what we can say, one scientist put 2 holes for 2 cats. Because he was a scientist, he said small hole for a small cat and big hole for a big cat. So at that time, he could not have imagined that through the big hole, small cat can also go. So it is not the case that creativity is there,